Perfect. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the session on a very, very specific topic. Now, this is something new that we are trying out. Talaha and I have been doing webinars for quite a while now. And we were discussing and we realized that rather than doing a little bit of everything, let's focus on one topic so that we can do that in much more detail. So it's a very different approach we are taking. And happy that you could take out the time to attend. And we'll see how it goes, right? We are very excited about what we want to share with you. This is pretty much something we cover in all our corporate trainings, and people love these examples, and we hope you like them as well. Now, what I want to do first is to give you an example of how other companies are using it, right? So I have this very detailed compilation of reports with me. And if you look at the reference line, there are 10 examples I would like to show you, and we'll go through them one by one. The first one is by BCG. It's a very old report, but it's a very nicely made report. So what you see here in the chart is that they are 2 years. So one is green and the other is yellow, 12, 13 and 13, 14, 2 financial years. But what makes it really exciting is that they're not just comparing the 2 years for large, medium PSUs and old and new private companies. But if you notice these 1089 and 1021 dash line that is coming, that is a reference line because that helps you understand what is the industry average. So this is one example by BCG. This is another one by BCG, where again, we have a global median that they are showing. Now imagine for a moment if that median value is not there. Sure, the chart still has a lot of input, but that reference line acts like a benchmark or a baseline against which you can compare all the other values. This is by one of the oldest management consulting firms in the world called Arthur D. Little. Now, in this, there are two vertical lines. After all, this is a bar chart. So the yellow one tells us the average cross-sell ratio, and the red one tells us the average product offering. This is a very simple line chart by BCG. Again, the average is shown on the y-axis. One more by BCG, where the S&P 1200 is shown so that I can compare companies with a weak, a mixed, and a strong culture against the S&P 1200. Here also you notice we have a 2098. Even though I don't like the fact that they have not specified what the 2098 refers to. Of course, it refers to the average. That is my assumption. But then I would have liked it if they had also explained what that is, right? This one is by McKinsey. Again, you can see the average lines there, the 35 and the 30. One more, we have the UK drop rate and the London drop rate, two vertical lines, along with a horizontal line. That is the typical retail gross margin. Then one by PwC, again, you have a line here. This is by Deloitte, where you have an entire band. So rather than one value, it is a band between 0.99 and 1.54, right? So I think these are sufficiently quite a few examples for you to get a sense of what we are trying to create. And also in terms of how important these are. I don't think I need to do much talking because the fact that these companies, the big three, the big four, and other large firms use it so regularly should tell you the importance and the acceptability of making this, right? That is what we learn how to create. So I think let's jump straight into it. I will do live examples with you from scratch. So the first thing I want to do is to get a list of 17 products and the sales value. I'll copy this in a new workbook. The file also I'll be sharing back with you once the training is over so that you can go back and practice as you want. Perfect. As you can see, we have 17 products and the corresponding sales value. And if we make a simple column chart, that's not difficult. We can simply select it. I can go to Insert, create a column chart, and it plots all the 17. What I would like to do is to be able to have a reference line. But here's the thing, is that reference line going to be fixed? Why not make it better? Why not make it dynamic? So what I'm going to do here is, one is the actual sales value that is in column C. In column D, I will add the average. So that is nothing but the average of all of these numbers. And as you see, we can simply put a dollar sign, copy it down. And now in my column chart, we can simply expand. I can hold it from the bottom left corner and we can expand. And now you notice an additional column comes in that is orange in color that shows us the same value, which is the average. Obviously, if one of these numbers change, then obviously the average will change and the height of that orange column will change as well. But why is it coming as a column? We want it to come as a horizontal line, right? So we can simply right click and I can go to change series chart type. And in the combo, series 1, that is the actual sales value, continues to come in a blue color. But the series 2, we will change to a line. Now remember, this is a line chart. The reason it is looking like a straight horizontal line is because it's the same value, right? And we press OK, and you get the result like this. To make it look a little better, I will also double click on any of the column and we will reduce the gap width so that the spacing between the columns decrease and it looks like this. One more thing we might want to do is to get the same colors that are there in our McKinsey chart. After all, McKinsey is one of the largest management consulting firms, and why would I not want to use the design language that they are using? So let's hop over to the McKinsey one, this one. I will simply go to picture format, picture border. And what we need is to identify the colors that they are using. So if I use my eyedropper, notice carefully, I can select the color, right? And now again, if I go to more colors, it tells me that the hex value is the one that you see. So I'm going to copy this, come back to Excel, right click, fill, more fill colors, and we'll paste the same color here. As you can see, now we're getting exactly the same McKinsey color. Looks a lot nicer. But here's the thing, the line also should be a dashed line. It should not be a solid line. So we can do that as well. I can again take this gray color. So we will go back to eyedropper. Very carefully, I'm going to choose this gray color that you see here. In fact, let me zoom in a little bit so it's easier for us to select. Or you know what? I think I have the gray in one of the other McKinsey reports. Let me pick that. One moment. Yeah, I think this works. So let's choose eyedropper. We will choose this gray. For the moment, this works. We can copy more outline colors and the hex value. Come back. We select our line. We go to the outline and we can go to more outline colors and select the gray color. And that looks like this. If you want, we can also now go to the format and in the shape outline, I can change the dash from a solid line to a dash line. See, the idea is not to copy what McKinsey did, but to take an inspiration from that. The next thing I would like to do is to, now I have the average, which is great, but I will also like an ability to show the top value. Now, if you remember, in the sample I showed you, they're highlighting one of the columns. So if you notice carefully, they are highlighting consumer goods right here. And it looks very nice. You know, the color highlight makes it pop up. And that is what we would like to show. So what we want to do here is, again, coming back, I would like the user to be able to select any one product, and whichever product they select, that should be highlighted. So what we will do here is, I'm going to create a choose option. So I will let the user decide what color they want. So if you notice, I can simply write choose. And in this, we will create a drop-down validation. So data validation, we will create a list with all the 17 products like this. And what we want to do now is to let the user decide which product they want. And what is the formula that we are writing? Very simple. We will say that if the product that is in those 17 products is matching the product that the user has selected, obviously only one row will meet the condition. all the other 16 will not meet the condition, then I would like to show the value. Otherwise, I would like to show a 0, or you can even leave it blank. Now, what happens is that whichever product you select, only that value is shown, the others are blank. One more time, I can now include the third column, and that comes as a line, but we want that as a column. So I again go back to change chart type. And if you notice carefully, the series 3 should also be a column like this. Press OK. But it's not looking the way we want it to look. Why is there so much spacing between these? The reason is that wherever the product was not selected, for example, accessory, appliance, art, there is a blank value, and that is why that space is there. How do you fix that? We will double click on any of the column, and in the series overlap, we will make it 100%. We can also reduce the gap width. And if you notice, now we're able to get only one of the products that is highlighted. What about the color? Again, we can go back, select my picture border, eyedropper, select the color. One more time. Go to more outline colors, select my hex value, come back, right click, and we will change the color to the exact same color that we wanted. And here we go. It's pretty good, right? It's looking almost like a McKinsey chart, and it is dynamic, which means that I can choose any product and only the product that I select will be highlighted. Right? So if you see this, only that product is highlighted. The only thing is this number is not coming correctly. So I'll just fix the formula once. I will say C3 to C90. And if you see, whichever product you select, only that one is highlighted. Now the reference line is great. That is the average, which is all right. But I also want another line, which is, let's say, an analyst estimate. So maybe I want to have like an industry benchmark or a competitor benchmark. To do this, we will again create a new column. This column, remember, is if product exists. That is what we are checking in this. Let me align everything in the center. And in the next one, what we want to do is, I want to create a ref line that is my industry ref line. That means now the user can choose a value, and that number could be any number. For example, I'm going to keep a number between the range that we have currently. So between, let's say, 0 and 18 lakh. So we'll go to data validation. And in this, I can allow a whole number between 0 and 18 lakh, which is okay. But how do you make it even better? Now in my developer tab, now remember the developer tab is not enabled on your system unless you enable it manually. To do this, you will have to go to File, Options, Customize Ribbon. And on the right side, there is an option called the developer tab. You only have to enable it one time. So what I would like to do is to select the developer tab, and I will insert something called a form control. This is without programming, so you don't have to worry. And in the form control, we have a spin button like this. Now, the spin button is okay, but then I would ideally want to have a scroll like you have on a website where the user can choose the number. So one more time, a scroll probably here would be more appropriate, something like this. And I hope you see where I'm headed with this. I would like the user to be able to move the scroll bar. And as the user moves the scroll bar, the number should change. The reference line should change. Let's see how we do this. So I'm going to right click and then format control. And in this, we'll keep the current value as, let's say, 50,000, could be any number. The minimum number is 0. The maximum is 18 lakh. The increment is 10,000. And the page changes 1 lakh. But there's a problem that you will see. When I try to link it to the cell, it tells me that it only allows between 0 and 30,000. That's a bit of a problem. So what we'll have to do is, because I don't have a choice, I will have to create a dummy cell first. That means in this cell, I will write, for example, 18,000, and this will be nothing but 18,000 multiplied by 100. So that makes it 18 lakhs. And now I will make sure that it is selecting not the cell directly, but this intermediary cell that is coming in the middle. So the current value, remember, is not 10,000, it will be 100. My minimum value, of course, is 0. My maximum, remember, will be 18,000. My incremental change will again be 100. My pay change will be, let's say, 1,000. And now if you notice, when I move the scroll bar, look what happens. It changes to 200. And because I multiplied by 100, that changes to 20,000. And if you click here, you're moving it by 1,000 at a time, which basically means you're moving by 6,50,000 to 7,50,000. You're moving by 1 lakh at a time. Now, this number is actually not required, so I can hide it. To hide it, we will right-click. I will go to Format Cells, and in the custom, in the type, we will put 3 semicolon. That is the way of hiding whatever is there in a cell. I mean, you can make the cell color white, but I think this is a more appropriate way of doing it. Let's move it here. That's pretty good, right? The only thing left is now in the ref line, I have to say equal to, and we will select $I, $3, and then copy it all the way down. And in the chart, we will now include the last column. And if you see now, we have 2 lines that are appearing. But this is very cool because as you move the line, you can see that you're actually able to move the line directly on the chart. So what the end user sees is basically something like this. Right? This is just one example. I will cover more for you, but then I just wanted to give you a sense of how Excel might seem like a very simple, basic tool, but there are a lot of tricks that it has up its sleeve. It's just that you have to keep on explore more and more, right? And you will be able to do all these things. Great. I will not repeat it because you have the recording, so you can watch that later. But if there are any doubts in terms of why we are doing it or is something else possible, I'll be happy to answer those questions. But don't ask me to repeat it because it will take a lot of time. I know it's a little difficult because I did a lot of things, but you have the recording. You can go back and try this later. Any questions, anyone? I mean, did you like the example? Do you think this is something you would want to use in your presentations and reports that you are creating?
Yes, absolutely. And instead of ref line, I'm already thinking of including a median because that might be important in some cases.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's do a variation. I will copy the sheet. Remember, I will be sending the file back to you. Let me save it on my desktop. Let's call it ref lines. Okay, never mind. Let me save it here. Now, what I'm doing here is something a little different. All right, please watch. Rather than keeping the average, right, what I'm going to do is I will first delete the formulas. I will say above and below. Okay, think about it. Here I'm writing a VLOOKUP where I will say that search for the value for the selected product. That means if I'm selecting copiers in the 2 column, most of you would know VLOOKUP, and I'm looking in the second column with the exact match, what will it do? Whichever product I'm selecting, it will show me the value for that product, right? And now in the formula, what we can write is, we can simply say that if the product currently selected in the current row is less than fasteners, then it will appear, otherwise it will not appear. So we will say if C3C19 is less than I3, then I would like to show C3C19, otherwise I would like to show a blank value. Now this means there's only one product that is doing lesser than fasteners. But if you choose something like chairs, you can see all the other products that are doing lesser. I can just, okay, let's call it let me change it. So I'll copy the formula 2 times. And in this, I'll just say it is greater than equal to. So basically the one on the left in column D tells you which products are doing more, and the one on the right below shows you which products are doing less. Again, let's come back to what we have created, and we want to change this a little bit. So now what I'll do is, if you look, I will remove the last column. We don't need that. A second. Right-click, change chart type. Now, if you notice, we have 3 series we have created. I will make all the 3 as a column. Just work with me, right? I'll explain what we are doing. And now what is happening is, oh, you know what? I'll do it from scratch so that it's a little easier for you to understand. I'll select everything, make a combo chart. One moment. Let's call this the item. We will make it a combo chart. Okay, you know what? Let me first make a column, then we can convert it into one, right? Perfect. Here we go. Just give me a moment. All right. Now, what we want to do is, first we want to get the same colors that we want, right? Now, if you notice, there are 3 colors that are coming here. One is the blue, that is basically the original sales value. One is the orange, which is wherever the value is above. And one is this green, wherever the value is below. What do? I will first select the greens and change the color, remember, to the gray color. And then whatever is above, we will change it to the blue color. That's the McKinsey color that we have selected. Now, you must be wondering, but Havish, what about the one that you left out, right? Let me change this as well. What we want to do now is to overlap them. So now when I double click and I do an overlap 100% and I reduce the gap width, look what is happening. If you notice carefully, in fact, let me change these colors to a more dark color so that you can see. Yeah, that's better. Now, if you see whichever product I select, do you see what's happening? The product that I'm selecting, it tells me how many of the other products are doing more than furnishing, which are the one in black, and how many are doing lesser, which is the one that is coming in. Now, you might say, but Havish, it's not clear which is the product that we selected. Simple. Remember, we did that in the last example as well. I can say, what is my selected product? And I will say equal to if the product is the one that I have selected, then I would like to see the value of that product. Otherwise, I would like to see a blank value. We will include that column. And again, now you notice there's another color that comes here. That's exactly what we wanted. So if you see, whichever product I select will come in that blue color, and the other colors tell me which one is doing more and which one is doing less. Pretty good, right? The only problem is we still have the sales that is coming here, which is actually not required. To remove that, I can go to chart design and select data, and we can remove the sales from this. We can unselect it from this. And now you notice in the legend, we only have the above, the below, and the selected, which pretty much tells us whatever we want to know, right? So just look at the last one. Here we made a reference line, which is great. This one is a little bit of a variation. This is the line. This one is not a line per se, but it applies the same logic, which is that there is a reference point, and I want to see how many values are above the point and below the point. What if you wanted to show this as a line? Even that is possible. For example, if I take this, right, the selected value, and I convert it to a line, think what will happen. If I convert this into a line, right now it's only coming for one point. But what I would like to do is to show the same value. In fact, let me do it as a variation. In this one, I will simply say, let's delete the formula equal to. So basically now this becomes a reference line. Let me change it to a line. And now do you see what's happening? The blue line is the demarcation. Whatever is above or equal is black in color. Whatever is below is gray in color. Have a look. When I change the product, you see what's happening? Whatever is below and whatever is above is coming in a different color. And of course, you can make it green and red and yellow as well if you want to. Any questions, anyone? I'll just wait for a moment.
Nothing as such, sir. Can go forward.
All good? All right. Okay. The next I would like to do is this. This is going to be a little complex, so please work with me. And of course, you'll have to practice it later. But let's have a look. Now there is a new option in Excel, which is called a checkbox. You might not see it on your Excel, depending on which version of Excel you have. But I'm going to make a checkbox, right, in this cell. And let me copy it down like this. Now, the idea of the checkbox is that I can select it, right? And it shows me either a true value if selected and a false if not selected. But what's the point? Please have a look. Now I can say equal to filter, the filter function, and we want to filter both the item name and the sales value. But what is the condition? The condition is that column A should be equal to true, which is a way of saying that if the checkbox is selected, then I would like to get those values, otherwise not. So you notice that as I select different values, only those values are shown. So this is the complete list that you have in column B and C, and this is the one that is the selected one, right? And what do we do with this? Now you can use this to make a chart. So now if I go to insert and make a chart, you notice we get a chart with these 5. But what if we add one more value, which is label? Now it's a little hard to explain because you might say, Havish, this doesn't make sense because like you only selected the chart using the first 5, right? So how is it possible that when I add more, the chart is adding, and when I delete it, the chart is reducing? Now this is very smart because Excel understands that the range is dynamic. It knows that the 3 items we have here are coming with one formula. So it is smartly understanding that every time you might not have the same number of values. Now, if you look at the chart, select data, do you see it only says F2G5? But that's very confusing. Here it only says F2G5, but then how is it possible that when I add 4 more, and again, if I go back and look at the select data, now it makes this F2G9. Like I said, that's just the way Excel works, but it is amazing because now you can make these dynamic charts as well, right? Okay, now what I would like to do, I mean, the reference line is okay. I'm not going to repeat that you can do on your own. I would like, okay, hear me out carefully. I would like to have a name of all the selected items. That means maybe at the top, I would like to get the selected items are, and then the list of these 4 items. Let's see how we do that. This is a formula. So I will say equal to. Now, if I select F3 hash, that means I'm selecting both the columns and all the rows. But that's not what we want. Now, if I say index, and I say that in my array F3 hash, I just want the row and the column, right? Think about it. If I say I want the row and the column, now if I say row number 1 and column number 1, it gives me the first value. But then that doesn't help me, right? Because I need, think about it, I need 4 rows, not 1. So we have to use something like choose calls. Now in choose calls, if I select the range and if I say 1, that means I'm only choosing the first column. Now remember, this is dynamic, and I'll show you. If you see, let me remove the validation from this. If you see, if I select another item, do you see how smartly this is also increasing? Now I need to join all of them. So we will say that we want to do a text join with a comma to join all the 4, and that means it will join it. And the rest is simple. Now we can say that the selected items are, then we'll do a concatenate, and now we'll join the value. So now it gives me the result like this. If you would like it to come in different lines, we can also say and put a character 10. That's like an alt enter. And now if you notice, you will not understand it like this, but if I do a wrap text, look what happens. Let me just increase the width of the column so that you can understand properly. One moment. Okay, check this out. Now, if you notice, they are coming in two different lines. Why? Because I put a character 10, which is like a alt enter. And this is so cool because as I select more items, the heading also changes. Pretty cool, right? Now, what about the chart title? Let's keep the chart title. So I will go to my chart, design, chart element, and we will add a chart title above the chart. Okay. Now, in this title, if I go to the formula bar and I say equal to and I select the cell, basically whatever you have put in the cell will come in this. Can we write the formula directly? Now, the thing is, if you try to write the formula directly like this, it doesn't work. So that means the formula must be created separately and then connected to the title. Now we can align it to the left, move it a little to the left. And if you see, this is so cool because now this is a dynamic title that we have, right? We also don't need this. Let me add the data label. Okay, let's have a look at the final result. These are the products we have. As we select different products, you will notice it appears both on the chart and in the title as well. Right? Any questions on this, anyone? If you want
Just
an
an
average,
observation, it's also aligning itself alphabetically.
no, that is because my original items were aligned alphabetically. That's fine.
Okay. Okay.
If let's, why don't we have a look at that? Let's say everyone that these were in a descending order like this. Now they will not be alphabetical, but if you want to show them alphabetically, what you can do is this list that you're creating, right? Where you choose the column, you can simply sort the list. And if you sort the list, then it will sort in an alphabetical order. So that level of control you have with you. Right? And if you really want to, make it even better, I can also say that the selected items, but we also want to show the count of the selected items. So let me show you how we do that. So if you notice this choose cause, right, is selecting the items, isn't it? What I can also do is I can say the is one word, then I will put a concatenate, and then I will say do a count of my choose calls. That will give me, think about it, the number 4. We will again do and then we'll say selected items are. Now this means, let me fix it once, hold on. The selected items are, okay. Let me check that. Oh, I'm sorry, I have to close one more parenthesis here, my bad. Yeah, like this. So now you notice that depending on the number of items you select, even that number is shown to you. I'm just showing you different variation. I mean, you can try them on your own, right? Okay. Now let's go to Python. Let's do something different. Now what I'm doing is I will be taking this data. It's a very simple data with these 17 products, correct? Copy, save it in a new workbook. No, in fact, why do this? Why not do it with the complete data? If you're doing an example, we might as well do the complete. So if you notice, this is the raw data we have. It's 51,000 rows, 15 columns. And I'm going to save it on my desktop. And let me show you how you can do this with AI, okay? Let me save it on the desktop. Let's come to Chat GPT. So I'll open Edge Chat GPT. Okay, first of all, I have the paid version, but I believe now even in the free version, up to a certain limit, you can upload files. So I will upload my file. And the first thing I'll do is I will ask it to tell me what columns we have. Assuming it's the data you have never seen before. So now we are doing a no-code environment where we can ask it, please tell me how many columns we have and what columns we have. So if you notice, it tells me these are the columns we have, right? Now I'm going to tell it, watch this. I will say, create a column chart to show sum of sales by my category, subcategory. Exactly what we created on Excel as well. So it uses matplotlib and it is automatically finding the aggregate, that is the sum of sales, and it shows me a column chart, which is good. But I also want to reference line. So I will say, this is great. Add a horizontal reference line that shows the average of all the 70. So I'm literally instructing ChatGPT what I want. And if you see, it does that. That's pretty cool, right? Look at this. And the best part is you can actually see the code behind it, right? Like this. Right? Any questions on this? Anyone?
Can I insert this into a Power BI dashboard?
I mean, not directly, but Power BI in any case already has Python integration. So essentially, you can write the same Python code in Power BI as well if you want. Not all the libraries are supported, but the basic ones are supported. You know what? Now that you mentioned that, please remember everybody that now even Python is there in Excel. You might not see it if you're not on the latest version of Excel, but it is free. And if you see, I can actually write Python code directly. If I show you one of the samples, one moment. See, there are these samples available. Let me just escape the formula once. Yeah. If you see, there are these samples available like this. Now, that is one way of running Python. The other method is that there is an Anaconda toolbox. This literally came like about 1 week back. To enable this, you have to go to Home, select add-ins. And if you see, we have the option for choosing the add-ins, and we can select something called Anaconda. That is one of the biggest distributions for Python. This one, Anaconda Toolbox. Literally came like 1 week back. Okay, it says 12th of May, but anyway, I've seen it 1 week back. Now let me show you how that works. Imagine we have the same data that we had earlier, like this. Right? I can go to Anaconda. And if you see, this is a very nice interactive environment where, okay, I will have to sign in once. Just give me a moment. Okay, it's already signed in. So if you see, I can build a visual. I can make a bar plot. I haven't used it a lot, right? So you'll have to be patient with me. And I will select my data, which is from here to here. And my x-axis will be my item. My Y will be my sales, and I want to color it by the sales value. And you know what? That's it. So if I select the output cell, check this out. I mean, I know it's very small, but it's so cool, right? I mean, it's still not perfect because if you look at the labels are not coming out properly. But the fact that now you can either write the complete Python code if you want, like if you look at the code mode, I can actually see the code behind it. And that's not all. I can actually edit the code behind it as well, right? So let's say I want to call the label as sales, whatever, values. Okay, check this out. This is amazing, right? So this is the beauty of it that, and now there is also a way to, ask an assistant. So I can use AI to ask these questions. So if you see, I can also ask it to help me create a table. For example, if I say, select a range, and it gives me ideas on what I will be able to create. So if I say, create a bar chart with a reference line showing the average, you will notice it literally writes the entire code for you. So it's, a AI assistant. And if I run the code, check this out. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, the fact that you were able to do it with literally next to no effort. Sure, there are still a few things that you would like to fix. For example, these labels that are coming, they're not coming properly, but you get the point. I mean, those things you can still figure out on your own. But this is the future, right? Knowing and learning what to create by looking at the consulting reports will always be an important skill. AI, Python are not going to help you. Power BI is not going to help you if you don't know what to create, what the client wants to see. But the actual task of creating it is going to get a lot simpler. Now, you might say, but Havish, if this is the case, why are we even learning all of this? For two reasons. Number one, it will take a lot of time for Python to come on all the computers and for people to adopt it. Two, there is a learning curve. It's not that easy. It looks very cool when I do it, but when you try to do it yourself with no programming background, there are a lot of things that won't work. And three, because all of your business models are on an Excel file, the real flexibility will only come with Excel formulas, right? Python still becomes something additional that you're doing. But what will happen after 5 years? I don't know. Power BI came 9 years back. Before that, we were surviving on Excel, isn't it? Now that Power BI is there, we are all moving towards Power BI. Maybe that change will happen even in Excel on Python. But I believe both will coexist. There are use cases for using Python and there are use cases for using Excel directly as well. I don't know if you have any questions, but you can ask. Okay. And that's the code that it is created. And if you see, this is the average sales. You see this? DF sales mean, right? Which is what is being plotted here. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me save this as well. I don't know how it will get saved, but let me try. If I move the sheet to my other workbook, which is book one. Why is it called book one? 1 second. I just gave it a name, right? Okay, never mind. So let me go to my desktop and reflines and, oh, got it. The name should be reflines. Right. Let me move the workbook. Yeah, there you go. I don't think you'll be able to access it on your system, but anyway, this is an image. At least the image will open and you've learned how to do it, right? Great. And this is the AI prompt. there's not really much to tell you. I mean, what you need is right there. You just have to ask it to create a column chart to show the sum of sales and ask it to create a horizontal reference line like this. Okay. What else do I want to show you? Yeah, I mean, if you have any specific questions, you can ask me. I think we have covered quite a bit. How much practice will it take to be good in logic building in Excel, SQL, DAX? Yeah, Aman, that's a very broad question. I mean, I have a book with me here. This is a 700-page book on, I don't know if you can see it or not. No, you can't. Yeah, this one. This is a 700-page book on just learning, not even Power BI, just learning one language in Power BI, which is M, right? I mean, I've literally ordered like 5 books from Amazon yesterday, one on business analytics, one on SQL, one on storytelling. So I think what you're asking is a very broad question. I don't think it's possible to learn everything and be an expert at everything. I might be somewhat of an expert on Excel because that's what I do for a living. That's my job, to train and coach companies. As a student who's probably going to get a 9-to-5 job, you have to find the right combination. So maybe focus on the areas of Excel that is more important to you. Similarly, for SQL, maybe a very basic knowledge would be good enough. DAX might not even be required for you. You have to do some research, understand what your peers are doing in the corporate. What is it that companies are even asking for? Don't learn something just for the sake of learning. Be very selfish and only learn what you feel is actually important in the corporate. That's how I'll put it. Okay, let me see if there's something else I can show you. Okay, let me show you one more thing. A slight variation on the first one. I'm just also taking the opportunity, now that you have learned the reference line, to tell you how these formulas can be clubbed together. Okay, watch this. Many times you would have noticed that we show the top 3 and the others separately. So what I'm going to do is, watch carefully. I want to show my top, okay, 3, bottom 3, and also my others. That means I will first say equal to sort. So I want to sort my range. Now this makes it in a ascending order, but I only want to get the top 3. So what am I going to do? I'm going to say that take only the -3. That means I'm only taking the bottom 3 values. That will be the top 3. Similarly, if I make it 3, it will make it basically the bottom 3 like that. But here's the thing, right? How do you go and not pick the top and the bottom, but the 11 in the middle? After all, there are 17 of them, right? Now that's a little tricky. If you watch, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say sort. Okay, watch this. I'm going to say sort, and I will now use the index function, because in the index I can put a position, which is the row number. Now in the row number, if I say 4, what does it do? It picks up. Why don't I sort the data so that you can see it properly? See, what is 241788? That's the 4th smallest value, isn't it? Which is great, but I basically want to select this range that you see. So if you notice, this is the part that I want to select, these 11. How do I do that? Very smartly, I will say I want to select not just one number, but a sequence of number. How many numbers? We know the total is 17. So there are 11 remaining. So I want 11 rows, but I would like to start on the 4th row. That means 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. So now if you notice, it gives us this range. I hope you can see it clearly here. Let me sort it in the other direction. Check this out. Like this. Now the only thing left is we have to combine all the 3. So very smartly, I will now use a let. A let allows me to declare variables. So I will say that my top underscore 3 is what? The top underscore 3 is basically the -3 that we've already understood, everyone. Now I'll also say that, okay, now I need the others. And for the others, we know that we can write the formula that we just wrote, which is what we're going to write. For the moment, I'll just say 100. And for the bottom three, I can take the same thing with a +3. Right? And let me end by showing a top three. It's a little complicated, I know, but I mean, you have to learn it, right? I mean, you're going to compete with people now who know how to write these complex formulas. So the question is not, is it difficult or not? You have to learn it. If you want to build a career in analytics, you must learn these things, right? So if you notice, what I've done here is I've taken the top three, I've taken the 11 after that, and the bottom three. And now I can stack it. So I will use something called VStack to take the top three. Then I will take the others, and then I will take the bottom three. Isn't that cool? And what you end up getting is this. But here's the thing. I don't want to show the values, right? The others should be summed up. That means when I'm getting the others, I don't just want to get these 11 values. I would like to find the sum of all these values. This is what makes it very cool, because now, do you see what's happening? These three are the top three. This is the others, and these three are the bottom three, right? So imagine that with a little bit more work, right? If you also say that there is the name that is coming, now you will also be able to get the name of the product, where you can say, okay, the top three are these three, the others come as others, and so on, right? So again, I mean, I will leave it up to you to try, but for the moment, I'll just do it very quickly. What I'm doing is I'm finding the sum of my top three, and also finding the sum of my bottom three. So if you see, now it tells me three numbers. My top three, which you can see here, are 471. My bottom three are 332, and the 11 in the middle are 759. But we also need to have the labels, right? Like, what do they mean? So what I'm going to do is I will also do a horizontal stack where we will say that we want three values. So we will say these are my top three. Oh, this is text, so it has to be like this, top three. And once I've done this correctly, you will notice the answer will look like this. I know it's quite a lot. I mean, of course, I can build formulas that are 10 times more complex, but see, the point was not to complicate things for you or to make it difficult just for the heck of it. But look at the value we are creating, because now when I make a chart, it looks like this. Isn't that cool? It tells me how my top three, bottom three, and the others are performing. It could be even better if you could have made that dynamic. So rather than, writing this 3 and this 11, right, and this 3, what if we could have let the user decide how many of the top they want to see and how many of the bottom they want to see? Or maybe a Pareto, where you're saying, I want to see which products are contributing 80% to my business and 20% to my business. I mean, you can figure that out later, but I just wanted to give you a sense of how these type of formulas are created. Let's see if AI can do it for us, right? So what I'm going to do is I will go back to AI. Now, remember, this is a very, very difficult ask. So don't feel that, oh, it's not working. It might not work, right? But let's see. I will say that I have 17 items in B2, B3 to B90, and I have corresponding sales value in C3 to C90, right? What is my requirement? I want to get the result like this, which is my top three, and then I want to get sum of top three. Then I want to get others, which is the sum of 11 in the middle. And finally, I want to get the bottom three, which is the sum of bottom three. Now, remember, this is a very, very advanced ask. So don't expect whether if it can do it perfectly. It will try, of course, it will give you the breakup telling you one by one how you can get the result. Now, what if I ask it, I want a single formula that can do this? Let's be a little greedy. Let's ask it to build a single formula for us. And if you see, let's see if that works. So I'll copy it. And if I paste it, it's not bad. I mean, the fact that it did it, I know that it's not giving me the result in 3 cells, 3 rows, but just the fact that it did it, it's amazing, right? Now, I will say this is perfect, but I want the result in 3 different rows, but using a single formula. So if you see, it's again trying to help you. It gives you a slight variation. And what it does is when I copy this, it's a little better than before, because now when I do a wrap text, it's giving me, I told it I want 3 different lines, but it's making it within the same cell. I want it in 3 different cells. So I'll have to tell it, this is correct, but this is 3 lines in the same cell. I want 3 rows. Now let's have a look. Now, do you see what it's doing? It's literally building for me what I did. So I'll copy it, come back. It's still not perfect, which is okay, right? I mean, there obviously are a few things that are still not working, but just the fact that it even got you like at least 70% of the way is fantastic, right? And I can just go back and tell it, there is some error, okay? Let us see if it is able to fix it or not. Right? I wouldn't really expect it to work perfectly, but that's okay. Like I said, even the fact that it can do it this much, I think is fantastic. So if you see, it's not working, right? So I'll have to go back and tell it, use H stack and V stack with a little bit more prompting, telling it what functions I want. Now let's see what it does. It gives me a formula. If I copy it, come back and I paste it, it works. I mean, it's fantastic. Now, you might say, but Havish, you had to tell it to use V stack and A stack. I mean, come on, there are 850 functions in Excel. I mean, then why are you even required? If it was so good that it knows even what formulas to use, then why are you required? But the fact that with just a little bit of prompting, it managed to do it is remarkable, right? Okay, so this is where I'm going to close. The idea was not to cover 50 examples in today's session, but to quickly recap, we saw how we can get the average, check if the product exists, and create a reference line. Then I created a form control where you can change the number, but because you can't change it directly, remember it's between 0 to 30,000, we had to create a cell in the middle. After that, we also created one more where one condition statement is for above, one is for below, one is for selected, and I use the McKinsey color. In this, rather than highlighting the selected product, I created a line. So above the line is one color, below the line is a different color. Then we used a checkbox with a filter function to basically select the products that I've selected, and then we concatenated it to show the number of items selected and the names of those items. Remember, the chart is dynamic like this. This was Python. I showed you that you can upload the file on generative AI and do it. Earlier, only ChatGPT could do it. Now even Gemini can do it. We also saw Anaconda toolbox on Excel, and this was a slightly different example, more formula focused, where I wanted to show you how the top 3 others and bottom 3 can be taken. Of course, you can combine it with a reference line as well. For example, if I change it to a line chart, a column chart, it will look like this. So imagine the possibilities where you can make the number dynamic and the top can come, the bottom can come, and everything else in the middle can come as well, right? So I will be sharing the file with you. I have your email IDs. So feel free to go back, practice the formulas, and don't just copy what I have done, but try to improvise it and, keep on trying different combinations, right?
Thank you so much.
Perfect. That's all from my side. Thank you for joining in. If you have any questions, you can ask. Thank you, Pulkit. Nagma, thank you. Will I be sharing the session recording? Absolutely. It will be uploaded on LinkedIn, on YouTube, so you can find it from there. The file I'll be emailing to you tomorrow morning, so you have the solution with you as well. My pleasure. Perfect. Logging off from my end. Do check on LinkedIn. We do plan to do a lot more webinars. I know today's session became quite complex, but that was the idea, to tell you what Excel is capable of. So I hope that goal has been met, right? Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Have a good Sunday, whatever is left of it, and have a good week. Thank you.